Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning trading session. End of another work week. It's been kind of a funny week, hasn't it? The market's kind of been back and forth quite a bit. Yesterday, after a considerable amount of chop during the morning session, we did see the market finally start to head lower. Let's take a look here at the Eagle, and you'll see what I mean. It was really very quiet through the morning, and then all of a sudden the market started to unwind going into the close, and fairly quiet through the Asian and European sessions. So I guess we'll see whether or not the sellers managed to recover the market and push it lower. There was that little bit of a rally going into the close, or whether the buyers are going to pull this together and force the market higher. Just on hold here for a few moments. We did get a first micro-macro cross here at, well, about an hour or so before the market opened. If you're not watching the overnight session, let's see, did this one print on the open? Yes, this would look like a first micro-macro cross if you're just trading the regular session. Good morning, Akeem. Yes, Akeem says yesterday the crude oil market was sort of leading the NASDAQ lower. I used to watch crude oil when I was trading the Dow because there seemed to be a closer relationship between those two, but the stock indices do have a tendency to move together, even though the NASDAQ is primarily tech stocks. All right, so a fairly large sell-off. Yeah, Keem says in his opinion the NASDAQ is quite sensitive to the price of crude as well, and he's doing little quotation marks around sensitive. Sometimes, the markets will be pretty tight in their relationships to other markets. I know Jim, who's in the trading room as well, likes to follow he follows the DAX. I think he says he follows the DAX in relation to the NASDAQ. Not quite a crystal ball, but, as traders, we look for anything we can get our hands on. Currently, crude oil holding solid. So here's crude oil on the Falcon just as an example. The NASDAQ we see moving quite a bit lower, the crude oil holding its own here at the moment. A little bit of a bounce off the primary support, maybe. All right, so big sell-off lower, making it look as though the market is very bearish today. All right, well, here comes a signal. This is going to be just a regular trend line touch signal. Here's the problem with this signal. Can I cover it? Nope, I can't. Because that's really where the stop needs to go. It needs to go way up here. Now, we could throw a stop in halfways, and because this is a single and because the market seems to be out of control today, maybe, I'll run a trade and an open profit target, but this is very much a, I got my fingers crossed type trade that this early momentum is going to follow through here. And if there is a bounce, it's not going to be too severe. I hope. So here now a reaction to the primary support line. Gold also dead quiet this morning. It's not very gold-like. Here's gold on the Falcon. And we got a market that's fairly non-committal. Goes up a little bit, goes down a little bit, goes up a little bit, comes back down a little bit. So when you see a market that's doing this, you need to recognize that it's moving sideways and that trading is going to be quite difficult. Come on. Sometimes when you see the market start to unwind quickly in one direction, and I know it's the summertime and all, and the markets tend to be a little less committed, but sometimes when you see a market start to unwind in one direction, your challenge is just getting into that trade, because the move can be very substantial, and as you can see, sometimes it's very hard to get in there and take a stop. No other signals really, not yet. Come on, we're getting a little bit of a bounce here. Market getting a little bit more neutral already. All right, we do have a macro pullback here. The nice thing about the hawk when you're scalping is you see on a signal like this, even if we retest the low, we've got enough room here that we can possibly at least adjust our stops or even hit our profit objective. And it looks like we got slipped a tick there. And I'm going to do the same thing as I'm doing with the Falcon trade. I'm just going to see if we can't run this one out a little bit. Take a look here at the Raptor. Yeah, we should have seen a cloud crossover. I guess this is going to be our cloud crossover signal. Normally it looks like this. This one's almost textbook right here, where the market comes up, the clouds cross over, the market comes into the cloud, usually even finds the hard edge, bounces out, produces a signal, and away we go. Uh-oh, sellers are starting to lose their grip. All right, hard edge, do your stuff. All right, we're here now getting into the hard edge. Gold starting to drift lower. It's actually a fairly substantial move lower on gold. The eagle was the one that picked it up here on this trend change, but in all honesty, much easier to see in hindsight. In real time, that just unfolded too quickly. And the market still looked like it was sideways. All right, we've got a green bar sell, which was even better than this macro pullback signal. So if the market fails from here, you've got just a whole lot more room to try to capitalize on your profit objective before we encounter obvious support. Good morning, Jim. Jim says, here's your advanced decline numbers. We got 1270 on the buy and 1330 on the sell. So fairly even. Oh, come on, sellers. Nope, not liking this. Not liking this at all. Jim's trying to buy the market up. He says he's sticking a toe in the water. Yeah, that's what you need to do sometimes, you know, when the market is starting like this. You can either start your initial trade in sim or just go in small, just to see which way the market might be inclined to go. Started very bearish, strong move down, and now the buyers are digging in, and they just don't seem to want to let the market go, which is a concern. We should have seen the sellers try to knock the market down here somewhere. You see here with the Falcon, if we're going to get a trend change signal, well, we need the down portion, right? Even if it ends up with a trend change signal higher, we still need that down portion. A near perfect green bar sell here on the Hawk for you Hawk traders. Nice thing about this particular green bar sell is it also has that bear flag look to it. If you're just looking at the price itself. But we do need to see that follow through. The Raptor and the Eagle both kind of stalemated here at the moment. We did get a buy signal, and if you wanted to, I suppose you could convince yourself that this was the retest right here, and that this is a soft edge buy. I don't know yet. I think the market owes us one more retest here. I think it owes us one more half decent move lower. Oh shoot, are you kidding me? Is that all you're going to give me as one bar here on the Falcon for our trend change? Is that all I'm going to get, really? One bar? After this massive decline out of the open, you're going to give me one bar? If we're looking at correlations between markets, here is crude oil once again on the Falcon, and you can see the NASDAQ rallying a little bit and yet crude oil slipping lower. So let's see whether crude oil actually does pull the NASDAQ down today, assuming, of course, crude oil prices continue to slip lower. I just got a buy signal here. Jim says the DAX just broke the trend line. Was that a bullish break or bearish break, Jim? Yeah, I know, Akeem. Akeem says, I didn't say this always works. Speaking of the relationship between crude and the NASDAQ. No, I know. Nothing always works. Like Akeem says, if it did, trading would be so much easier. Yes, I know. There are a few markets, though, that have a bit of a relationship that you can keep an eye on if you want. Like I said, I used to follow crude oil for the Dow, the bonds for the E-mini. Marsh Jones used to watch the NASDAQ and the Dow and then trade the E-mini. He would watch the time and sales, and if he saw massive sales go through the NASDAQ and the Dow, he knew the E-mini would follow suit a few seconds later. Gave him just enough time to hit the buy or sell market buttons. He had about a 2 or 3 second head start on the rest of the market. Oats and wheat tend to lead the rest of the grain complex, but not always soybeans. Soybeans kind of a different animal in the grain world. All right, so we're finally getting something a little more bearish going on here. Even though we are producing a first micro-macro cross, I think we can adjust our stops somewhat. Maybe I'll take it just the other side of 46.42. Now getting a macro pullback signal. Might be one more little bounce in here, which is why I'm trying to keep my stop a little bit further away. Great question from Akeem. Akeem asked, Eric, would you still consider this green bar sell valid? Yes, I would. And then remember, with the red bar buys, green bar sells, they tend to develop near the end of the trend. So you can always use them just as an early warning. But what I really liked about this green bar sell was the shape of it. Not the signal itself, but just the overall context. If you're looking at this whole chart, you just can't help but see that this looks like a really nice bear flag pullback. The market breaks now to the downside. We can anticipate a little bit of a hiccup here, which is what we're going to see. And then if, in fact, the sellers are in control, we will see the market head lower. So if we get this little itty-bitty bounce and the market turn lower, then we can afford to get a little bit more aggressive with our stops. Right now, however, I'm doing my best to try to stay out of harm's way. And maybe what I'll do is I'll leave my stops above this primary resistance line on both markets. Go 44.25. And let's see if they follow through on that. So getting that little hiccup. The Raptor, on the Raptor, this would produce a double pullback. So here's pullback number one. This is pullback number two. If we come out here now with a signal, that's a saleable signal. And the way the market is, I may just throw a single on there. And again, try to run it out. Or is it just going to be another sideways day? Yes, very difficult. Akeem says it's quite difficult since the Falcon is working a trend change signal now. Yes, absolutely. And a late filter entry, all of which tend to be high probability signals. So I'll go back here, I'll roll it a little bit tighter above the high. If it fails, oops, let's get that back there a little bit. So that's all I'm going to give them. In trading, sometimes the most difficult thing to do is make a decision. Right or wrong is secondary, believe it or not. I know a lot of you are there scratching your heads thinking, what? Right or wrong is secondary? It's more important to make a decision. Yes, it is more important to make a decision. We count on the trade manager here not to let us get overexposed. But the ability to make a decision is huge. All right, so it does look like the buyers are going to press higher here. The market did pay off to the short side, but it looks like we're going to get a buy opportunity here and perhaps a rally back to the highs. We'll see. And unfortunately, occasionally, it's going to cost you a few dollars to figure out which way the market is going. So here on the Raptor, we're producing a buy signal and a nice opportunity to take the trade on a second push. Here on the Eagle, we're starting to produce buy signals. Now, this is a very tiny rule of three. There's only two signals, but the rule of three dictates that we have a trend, we're producing signals against the trend, and we see a retest of the lows, in this case the lows, before the market tries to turn and head higher. So let me get that signal on. Can I cover it way down here? Yes, I can. Now, I don't usually, oh, you know what? All right, I'll do it. I don't usually trade long one market and short the others, or one bird and short the others. In this case, I will do it just because, you know, the signal is valid, and it gives me a chance to get long since I was short those two. And I'm a little bit late on this one, but I wanted to come back and throw in a signal here on the Raptor. But I would put my signal above this high. I would not necessarily take it on the hash mark, just in case this was going to become a double pullback. All right, and now the market goes screaming higher. And here too, since it's a single, you can take profit on target. You can try to run it out a little bit. Maybe, where's our next resistance line? Let's take a look at our support resistance suite. Now that we're above here, we get 46.50-ish. Where's my profit objective here? 46.51.5, close enough. So we'll just leave the profit orders in play, and I can probably use the ATR to adjust my stops. There we go. Mr. Buckaloo is asking, do you consider a valid retest to at least 50% pullback or not really? That's a great question. I don't draw fib lines on the chart, as you can see. Most people have an intuitive sense of when the market is at a 50% retracement anyway. Like, you can look at your chart and you can say, yeah, you know, this is about halfways of this little move. So there's a 50% retracement of this little move here. The whole point of watching for a retest and a failure is to try to gauge who is controlling the market. Very often, when the markets are strong and there's a lot of activity, the retest will be quite substantial, right? We'll see a deep retest down here. Do I care whether it hits the 62% level or whether it hits the 75% level? No, not really. Do I care if it's only a 38% retracement or a 50% retracement? No, not really. I'm trying to judge, are the sellers trying to recover the trend relative to the trend that has been? The stronger this part of the trend is, the more effort there should be on this retest. If this is weak, this can be weak. If this is strong, this needs to be reasonably strong. Otherwise, it's what is known as a bull trap or a bear trap, depending which way the market is going, where it's just trying to fool traders into thinking that prices are actually, or the trend is very strong one way or the other. So we saw the market fall off reasonably fast this morning. There was a fair amount of selling pressure. However, it looks as though they stopped short of yesterday's lows, which is fine. This is where we would anticipate the buyers to show up. And then the buyers bought it up. And the sellers, remember I was commenting on how, where did the sellers go? Where are the sellers? So then the sellers finally showed up, gave us a little bit of a move lower. Well, is that all you guys got? You know, is that really all that you can muster relative to how quickly you drove the market down? So that told me that the sellers were being overwhelmed by the buyers and that we should probably tighten our stops and look at taking a reversal, looking at taking a counter trend signal. Counter trend relative to this, not, you know, relative to the overnight. Or, yeah, I guess the overnight. It's difficult to gauge sometimes when the markets are moving sideways as they are. Here on the Raptor, another good example. Just for kicks, let's throw a fib level on here. Yeah, good eye. Right down to the 50% level. It didn't look like it to me, but it is. Personally, I like to see a deeper retrace. Again, relative to how the market opened and fell, there should have been a lot more selling effort here. So then when we come back with another buy signal, this to me is now a soft edge buy. The market is looking bullish. The sellers tried to move the market lower. They're failing. The market's reversing, producing a buy signal. That would be a signal I would like to get on board with. So now we're going to get a cloud crossover. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Eagle trade to break even. I'm going to force it to break even now. Why? Well, because if this market's moving sideways, I may as well take an earlier stop out or just take the profit. You know, there's $75, $80 there in open profit if you want it. It's not chunk change. That'll help pay a few commissions anyways. Or offset the earlier loss that I took in the Falcon. But here now we have the cloud crossover forming. Well, what does the cloud crossover tell us? The cloud crossover tells us there's a change in trend or a possible change in trend. How do we know when the trend change is confirmed? Well, it comes into the cloud pushes it out, and we get a buy signal. But what does all this tell us? Well, it tells us that the buyers are strong enough to change the dynamics of the Raptor from bearish to bullish. Then we look to see whether they can maintain that bullishness. Can they actually maintain all this buying? And that occurs when we see the sellers try to force the market down, and we know that the buyers will traditionally dig in somewhere around the hard edge of this trading band. And if the buyers do have control of the market, they're going to force it back up. The trade parameters on the Raptor will set up so that they produce a buy signal. We're going to get that signal, and then we can anticipate that prices will continue higher from there. Right now, we're not seeing that. Well, we're not seeing, oh, here it comes, okay. We're getting that little bit of a bearish move down, and now we'll see whether or not the buyers can recover. Because this is the high of the morning right here. This is where the market opened and then fell off sharply. The sellers that sold here very likely have their stops up here. there's going to be some big sellers in here. They're selling again. They would have sold actually here. They would have sold all the way up. They're selling up here. So now we'll see whether or not they can force the market down. Or will the market just make a little bit of a hiccup? Come down here, hit the hard edge, come out, produce a signal. Away we go. Yeah, like Akeem says, shoot, should have taken that fantastic Falcon signal. Well, it's fantastic in hindsight. Akeem says that's really a mess with all those decisions in there. Yes, it is, but you have to try to step back. And the nice thing about day trading is that you get a feel for the momentum because you're watching the bars unfold. If the markets are unfolding quickly and the market goes boom, 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 you know the market's bearish. You don't need to have somebody show you some fancy indicator or something saying, hey, the market's bearish. You can see it. You can bar, 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 lower, lower, lower. And same thing here. When it broke, boom, 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 up, up, up. Well, part of that rally was all these exit orders right here, mine included. So those exit orders are buy orders, and that sparked the market to head a little bit higher. Tony's asking, is that a bull flag on the hawk? Yes, sir, it is. And a macro pullback, also trying to be a 4-arrow consolidation. Now, you're very astute to see that this is a little bit of a bull flag, and as such, I would probably draw a trend line above here. Oh, it looks like our hash mark is going to produce somewhere around the trend line anyhow. Instead of taking it right there, however, I'd probably offer up a couple of ticks on the entry, maybe even this swing high here, that little itty-bitty swing high. I know it's a little bit further away. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're offering up about half of our profit objective just to gain entry. But it's the kind of thing where you don't want to get in too early only to see the market end up in a sideways range and trade back to the lows of the day. So they're conflicted. They started the day bearish, didn't want to go lower. They're trying to go higher, and now all of a sudden it seems like they don't want to go higher either. Okay, now as we start to drift deeper, and you see this bar here, it's a nice little fat bar with a tall wick. I would probably take it above there if we get a breakout. Can I cover way down here? Ooh, that's rich. The buyers do owe us one more move up. Whether or not they'll get above the high remains to be seen. Floyd's watching crude. He says, Eric, you're missing a crude oil move. Yes, sir. Look at that. Nice move lower here on crude. Nice trend change signal here on crude. The problem I have with crude is, where do I cover this? I should cover it above the high, but it's a little bit out of reach for me. So I either increase my risk amount or I try to run a tighter stop, maybe to the crest in the trend line. I can usually take more hawk signals on crude because the setups seem to be a little bit tighter. And we had a nice consolidation pattern here. Normally don't get 4 arrows on crude. Normally we get 3 arrows and then the market bolts. So crude oil moving lower. And our macro pullback needs adjustment. All right, just looking for a little bit of a blurb higher. Big test is going to be these highs right here, this whole 46, 48, 49 area. What I'll do, sorry, a little bit of a coughing fit there. What I'll do is I will run my break-even trigger, but I'll eliminate my profit target in case, just in case, the buyers pick up some steam here and get above that 46, 49, 50 area. Come on, get up there. Technically, we're still in this bullish flag. 1, 2, 3. If we break, it will also be a 4-arrow consolidation to overlap with our macro pullback signal. All right, here they go. Let's see if they get up there. Come on. All right, we've hit the break-even target. Oops. There we go. All right. right, so let's see if they can get through this whole mess here at 46, 48, 49, 50. It's a bit of a stumbling block for the market. 46.50 should be obvious. It's one of those psychological numbers that traders are often attracted to, halfway points. Come on, let's go. Let's see, are we getting another signal here? Oh, here's our cloud crossover on the Raptor. It's already tripped. You could do the same thing, though. You could make the market take out the high before you commit. Remember, the hash mark is really just a suggested entry. Stops should go a little bit further away, just to start. Go buyers, go buyers. The Geiger counter kind of waffling a little bit too. Natural to see some selling come in here as we look for some bearish support of this area. All right, saw the Geiger counter pull hard over. Oh, there it is. Oh, almost. We want to pull and hold and hold and hold and hold. Jim says the advanced decline now almost dead even, where we've got 13.15 and 13.95 to be precise on the buy and the sell. All right, so there's the breakout. Let's see if they come back with that. they go. Come on. Keep going. I will allow, excuse me, I will allow the break-even trigger to take the trade to break even. Oh, brother, come on. Let's get a little bit of follow through. All right, so here come the sellers now with a little bit of a pushback. Oh, not liking this current move. I may choose to go with something a little bit more aggressive on my stops. Sure, let's go with the ATR. Essentially leaving our Hawk stop and Raptor stop now in pretty much the same place. We'll go back to all the action on the Raptor. Once again, I'm looking at follow through. I need follow through here. If there's no follow through on the bull side, well then we're going to be in a bear market again and prices are going to try to push lower. which is what they appear to be doing. Tony says, tell Jim to buy a dozen cars for us. Get in there, Jim. Come on, load up. Yeah, Jim says, might be seeing a test of this morning's high, the 10 a.m. high. It's tough to gauge the market. In hindsight, I should have just grabbed profit whenever I had it on the buy signal, on the sell signals. We did get quality signals. Out of the open, it was difficult. The market did just kind of spill its guts. But this soft edge buy signal worked out for us. Nice little trade. Now we're getting a cloud crossover signal. Just looking for commitment now, really. Come on. Very important bar, this one. The Eagle trade is already at break even, so not so much an issue on that. Oh, sorry, Hawk trade already at break even. Not so much of an issue there. The Raptor trade, trying to nurse that one into a break even type situation. Oh, good. Jim says the Russell's exploding higher. Well, we'll see whether they take the NASDAQ with them. Come on, NASDAQ. When I get bored with the market, I start drawing trend lines. And then I start to play with trend lines. Have a little trend channel like that, maybe? Or will it be a trend channel like this? Oh, that one seems to be more accurate, doesn't it? Well, they're not liking this 46.52 area, not one bit. They break through here, and they've got a little bit of room to go. Sellers very aggressive yesterday around this, well, around these highs. That's where yesterday's selling actually initiated, which is probably why we're having all this difficulty. See right around here, the 46, 54, 55, 56 area, that's where the market started its rapid move lower yesterday, and that's where we find ourselves right now. So small wonder we've got sellers trying to load up. A lot of sellers will see this as the top end of a larger trading range. Come on. Come on, just one more bar. What I'll do is I'll roll it at the high of this bar. If this bar completes bullish, then it will initiate my break-even trigger. Come on, here. We'll use the magic mouse to push the market higher. The magic mouse is still in beta, so most of the times it'll work. Just give it a little push higher. There we go. See? Told you it worked. A few of you were skeptical, I know, but well, the magic mouse came through. Not as much follow through as I thought. Look at these, the Geiger counter here. I don't know if you noticed it was pulled hard over and like that, and it's holding, it's holding, it's holding, it's holding, but the volume is, well, fairly light. But we're in break even on both positions now, so I guess we'll try to ride it out. See if they give us one more leg up. Maybe even get close to yesterday's highs. Wouldn't that be something? Come on, get up there. See, some sellers will be looking at a trend line like this thinking, oh, the market's wedging up. And traditionally from this type of wedge, we see a bearish breakout. So that probably accounts for some of the selling going on up here. Crude oil's flattened out quite a bit since its earlier run up. And gold still kind of waffling back to where it started the day. Well, we'll hang in here for a few more minutes, but if things don't shake up, I think we may close up the trading room, call it a week. If you are long these trades, you may as well try to nurse them a little bit harder. Get up there. Gary's asking, Eric, what are the colors, opacity, and hard edge on your Raptor clouds? Great question, Gary. I'm going to show you on my other Raptor so that I don't mess up this particular trade. That was a lesson I learned the hard way. When you're in a trade, don't mess with the chart settings. There are videos at the Indicator Warehouse website explaining this, but we have the time, so let's take a look at this. What you want to do is you want to go to your Raptor or your indicator panel, and you're going to pull down here and you're going to find where it says IW RTS Raptor Cloud. If you double click on that, you're going to find that you have two Raptor clouds now in your assortment. The one cloud, we've changed the setting to 8 ticks. The other cloud, you can leave at the default of 12 ticks, but you do need to change the color, otherwise you're not going to be able to tell the difference between the two. So choose whatever color you like, really doesn't matter. Same thing with the band edge. You need to change the band color, the hard edge, any color you want. And you click apply and voila, you will have two bands displaying on your Raptor. Now if you're referring to the background highlights, the opacity of those, I have turned off the background highlights by changing the opacity from the default of 2 to 0. Personally, I find it a little distracting, but that's me. If you like them on there, then that's fine. Go with it. And that is how you do that. All right, you guys and girls, let's call it a day. We are hunting for the next resistance line, which is going to be up here at 46.57, and you know what? I may just end up taking profit there if we can see the market trickle that high. Momentum definitely waning from the market right now, and likely not to come back in until the closing hour, when we see everybody get flat for the weekend. All right, you guys, have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again on Monday morning. Bye for now.